I'll dive right into it. Tell us about the resignation. What exactly went into the decision? How long did it take? Was it a difficult decision to make?
It was a difficult decision to make. The first indication came Friday afternoon when a member of the staff of the Office of the Cabinet Secretary called up my Chief of Staff, telling him of the instruction of the Cabinet Secretary that I should desist from attending cabinet meeting starting Monday. We were supposed to have a cabinet meeting December 4.
Yes.
I was preparing for that already because we got the agenda, I think that same morning, Friday morning. One of the things that would be taken up during the meeting was the status of the Yolanda rehabilitation. In fact, Thursday afternoon, I was in Malacanang the entire day, where I presented.
And you were seated beside?
I was seated beside Cabinet Secretary Evasco.
Yes.
I made a report there, and Cabinet Secretary Evasco was supposed to do the report on Monday. So we were preparing for it just in case questions would arise out of the report. We would be ready with it. So when the phone call arrived, I was confused as to why there would be such an instruction. I remember telling my Chief of Staff, asking him, how did we get the invitation to the cabinet meeting? And my Chief of Staff was telling me, we received a formal letter. So I was telling him, I can't not attend the cabinet meeting based on a telephone call. So can we at least request for a written notice that they are asking me not to attend the cabinet meeting? Because my worry then is that it might be interpreted as I'm ducking away from work that I was supposed to do. So my Chief of Staff called up the Office of the CabSec again, asking for a written notice. But after a few minutes, we got a return call, and he was told that no such written notice was forthcoming. So I was telling my Chief of Staff, if they can't give me a written notice, I will still attend the cabinet meeting. So that particular information was relayed again by my Chief of Staff.
Okay.
It was a series of exchanges.
Yes.
From afternoon until the evening. And then we got a request from the Cabinet Secretary saying I should not insist on attending the cabinet meeting so as not to aggravate the situation. So it left me feeling much more confused. I was asking my Chief of Staff, what situation? Because I never noticed, I never expected that to be coming. Wala namang masabi. So my decision as of Friday is that if there was no confirmation from the President himself that there was such an instruction, I would still be attending the cabinet meeting. But I told my staff, let's report to the office tomorrow, which was a Saturday, so that let's prepare a written report.
Yeah.
I was already planning that in case they force me not to attend, at least I would have a report and would have a written notice on the reasons why I wouldn't be attending the cabinet meeting. And then Saturday afternoon, I think about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I received a text message from the Cabinet Secretary himself.
So this was direct now?
Yes. It was already directed to me. He was asking me that upon the instructions of the President through Bongo, that I should desist from attending all cabinet meetings starting Monday. So I didn't know how to react. I think I just answered him copy.
That was a very brief answer.
Yes, because I wanted to take stock of things. I didn't want to rush into any decision. I let it pass. Saturday. On Sunday, I decided to send a text message to Bongo because that's my conversations with the President were always through him.
Through
If the
Bongo,
President,
yes.
if the President needs to talk to me on the phone, it would be Bongo who would call me up. I don't even know if the President has his own number, but the only number that I knew of was Bongo. So I texted him I wanted to talk to the president. So I was telling Bongo, I need confirmation. But he wasn't answering my message. And that was quite unusual for him because in the past, whenever I would send him a message, he would immediately respond to my messages. I think I sent him 3 or 4 messages.
In a span of how many
In a span
hours?
of, I think I started at 2 o'clock and ended almost 5 in the afternoon, but I never got any response. I remember I still texted Cabsec Evasco telling him that I'm trying to get in touch with Bongo because I needed a confirmation from the president, but I also received no response. And that in itself was already a signal to me that I wasn't wanted anymore. Because if that wasn't the intention, if the intention wasn't to ease me out, I would have deserved an explanation as to why I was being prevented from attending a cabinet meeting.
So when you were getting that signal, did you confer with Liberal Party members?
Not
or?
yet, not yet.
Okay.
I just conferred with my staff, I conferred with my children, and I was telling myself I didn't want to leave. We were doing so much in HADC already, and there was so much more to do. The problems there is enormous, and we think kahit papano in a span of 5 months, you're able to make significant breakthroughs already. Pero I was also telling myself that if I would insist on holding on to my position and I am not welcome in the cabinet anymore, that would have been too selfish a move already, in the sense that I am fully aware that I cannot function as HADC chair without the support of the president.
Right.
We're not even a department, we're just a coordinating council of several shelter agencies. And we would need the cooperation of so many other departments in the bureaucracy. So I was telling myself, if I would insist on staying on, parang yung magsasakripisyo yung sector. The housing sector would be at the losing end. So sabi ko, parang I am left with no choice na din but to resign. So I decided that mid-afternoon of Sunday
Na.
that I will resign. So yun. When I made the decision, that was the time I made it known to the leadership of the party of my decision, because I didn't want them to know about it from media.
You kept them in the dark.
Oo naman. So I informed them already. Of course, everyone was surprised because parang they didn't also see it coming. They thought that I was having a good working relationship with the president.
Was there any opposition from among the Liberal Party members who you spoke with?
Ano kasi, when I told them, parang I made a decision already.
Parang
it was
FYI.
just FYI. So ano naman, they were supportive naman. They said that whatever I decide on, they will be there to support me.
Some analysts have been saying that after you made that decision, the impact was very, very clear. That it's also a signal that you would now take on the role of opposition and that you would be leading the opposition. Is that fair? Is that a fair assessment? Is that too much?
I think it's not very accurate, in the sense that while I am willing to lead the different forces who have similar views on certain policies of the president, it is not accurate in the sense that the role I want to take is that with the policies I agree with, I still want to be very supportive of this administration. But with the policies I am very passionate about, that I am really opposing from the very start, I think I would have more elbow room now to really be very vocal about them. EJ case, for example, death penalty, lowering of the age of criminal liability, the burial of the late President Marcos. These are the things that I have been very vocal already in the past. And
Let's go through them one by one, because this had also been listed by some of the stories already. So let's start with the Marcos burial. This is an ongoing thing, and there have been rallies,
Yes.
and this might be a prolonged issue. What role do you see for yourself playing on this particular issue?
Ako naman, not only with this particular issue, but with the other issues as well. I think my assessment now is that there are so many groups around who feel so strongly against this particular decision of the president. Pero parang all the voices who are opposing are discordant at this point. Parang there is no unifying voice aside from the ones which came out during the rallies. Parang yung sa akin, I would want to unify all the voices of dissent. Kasi I'm still hopeful that the president will listen. I'm still hopeful that if we make our voices known loud enough, the president will still listen to us.
You think he will really listen?
I hope he would still be. In the past naman, the president has backed down on several decisions he already made. Halimbawa, yung COP21, yung climate change, he has already declared before that he wouldn't be signing it. And when when things were explained to him, he knew the consequences if we wouldn't be a signatory to it. He decided against his earlier pronouncements before. So it can happen. Yung sa akin naman, dun muna. If he doesn't listen, then it's another thing. Pero if all of us who feel so strongly against this particular issues are not united, parang it's difficult to let the president listen to us.
What's the central message that you think would be effective insofar as the Marcos burial is concerned? Because there were two separate rallies, on the 25th in Luneta and then on the 30th sa People Power Monument. And then magkaiba yung message.
Magkaiba.
And then we
Magkaiba yung grupo.
Correct. And sa EDSA, parang mas naging malinaw yung message na medyo more critical of Duterte.
Yung sa akin kasi parang we stand a lesser chance of being heard. Pag yung pinaabot natin ng mensahe, tayo nga, hindi pa nagkakasundo. So, bakit tayo papakinggan? Yung ganon. Parang sa akin, I would want sana to create a platform wherein all the dissenting voices will agree on one thing. Recognizing the fact that if we just have one voice, we would have a greater chance of being heard. Yun naman yung sa akin. Tingin ko there's so much opportunity in that. Kasi ngayon, parang kanya-kanya pa din. Kanya-kanya pa din na galaw. Yung sa akin, ako sana yung makapag-unify noon. Tingin ko, yun nga, I see it as an opportunity as an opportunity to unify all these dissenting voices and make the president listen.
Hindi ba difficult yon to unify the voices?
Tingin ko mahirap because number one, I'm a politician. Parang I belong to one political party, and for some people, it is always difficult to separate my person to the party I belong to.
Yes.
So it would be difficult. So tingin ko dun yung itatraverse na challenges. If I succeed in making people realize that this is not a party thing, this is not a yellow thing, but it is something we feel so strongly about, and it is something we need to be united, di ba? As one. Tingin ko kaya naman. It happened in the past already. Ano man yun, when we fought against a dictatorship, it was a fight, di ba? It was a fight that was staged by so many different groups with iba-iba talaga. Iba-iba yung pinanggalingan, pero iisa yung paniniwala.
Pero mahirap yun because the president is very sympathetic to Bongbong Marcos.
Yes.
And is very friendly with the Marcoses. So how can you expect to unify the voices when you will not expect to get support from the president?
Ano talaga yun? Ako kasi, we have seen in the past, I don't know if I am being very optimistic about it, pero we have seen in the past 5 months that the President has backed down on several decisions already. And I think it is still worth a try. Pag hindi siya nakinig, ibang usapan yon. Pero
What will you do pag hindi siya nakinig?
pag hindi kasi siya nakinig, then the fight will be against him already. Pero ngayon, I don't think there is a need for that. Kasi hindi pa naman natin sinusubukan. Hindi pa naman natin sinusubukan na magkaisa tayo para pakinggan tayo. Baka he thinks, I read one of his statements before, na parang sinasabi niya, konti lang naman yung, parang it's a very small percentage of the population who think that way. Dapat ipakita natin sa kanya na mali siya doon. Na hindi lang ito small percentage of the population, pero marami actually yung ganito yung pakiramdam, kaya pakinggan mo kami.
Okay, second point of difference that you mentioned was the death penalty. What are your reasons for opposing it?
Ako naman, we have seen there's a study already by the Philippine Statistics Authority. Now, in all the years that the death penalty law was in place, makikita natin hindi naman siya nakababa ng crime rate. In fact, maraming mga taon na mataas yung crime rate pero may death penalty tayo. So, parang kung tinitingnan natin siya as a deterrent, history will show us that it wasn't. Number 2, naniniwala talaga ako na yung criminal justice system natin dapat mas restorative instead of, alam mo yon, yung hindi ka na nagbibigay ng pag-asa sa mga nagkasala. Maraming beses in the past, maraming years in our history na meron tayong death penalty, marami ding years in our history na wala. So, tingin ko ilalagay lang naman natin yung death penalty. It's even in the Constitution. Yung general law is that we don't impose death penalty except that Congress may also pass a law restoring it in case of heinous crimes. Pero yung sa akin lang na pangamba dito, that the bill was passed in the committee level without giving it a chance to be debated on.
Minadali.
Hindi nagkaroon ng pagkakataon yung mga advocates na ipakita kung ano yung kasamaan o kabutihan nito. Parang doon ako nangangamba Doon ako nangangamba na parang it was passed because it's something that the president wants. Nasaan na yung independence ng different branches of government? This is the essence of democracy, di ba? Yung independence, saka separation of the 3 branches of government kasi they will provide check and balance for each one. Pag hinahayaan natin na ganito, parang yung implications niya is so much more than just the death penalty bill. Yung implications niya parang strikes the very core of our democratic processes already. And it is even scarier than merely reimposing the death penalty law.
And I think you pointed out that this would be a violation of, because we're a signatory to the second,
Yes.
what they call it, optional
Yung una, yung
protocol.
Universal Declaration of Human Rights, signatory tayo doon, yung International Convention on Civil and Political Rights, yung second International Protocol, signatories tayo lahat doon. Nasa naman natin, nasa konstitusyon natin na we adhere to the basic principles of international law. Pag naging signatory tayo sa mga kasunduan na ganyan, treatises, we're bound by it. The provisions of international law of which we are signatories of become law of the land. So yung sa akin, ang dami talagang maaapektuhan na parang yung mga basic na paniniwala natin as a people.
Okay. Third point was the war on drugs. Ang daming pinapatay. Non-stop. And this is going to continue. How do we stop this?
Kasi I think kaya ganito siya kasi the outrage is not enough Parang what is scary now is that we're getting used to it already.
Yes.
It's something that we take for granted. May napatay doon, may napatay dito. Parati naman yan nangyayari. So kailan ito hihinto? If we don't make our voices loud enough. Yung nakakalungkot kasi parang it has become the menu for the day. May napapatay left and right. And you know, yung linya na ano ba yung pipiliin mo, you protect evil or you protect the victim. We don't even know anymore what is, di ba, what is the delineation between the two eh. Kasi we have heard so many stories of people getting killed na, di ba yung circumstances, hindi talaga maayos. Parang it has become very regular already, very normal. Sa akin lang, sa Naga, wala naman dyan nagpapatayan before. Pero all of a sudden, may 4 na pinatay, drug-related. Parang taking the law into our own hands has become parang usual already. Parang everyone is given a license to just kill anybody. But it's not even just drugs anymore. Marami tayong naririnig na OFW, umuwi lang para magbakasyon, nadamay na. Siguro may kaaway, ginawa ng kwento na drug-related, pinatay na. Parang siguro hanggang hindi ito nangyayari sa malapit sa atin, parang we won't, di ba? Parang we won't express outrage.
We heard about your, there was a message that you had directed to the police. Beyond that, is there anything else that people can do? The church, civil society?
Ako tingin ko, it is the responsibility of everyone eh. Halimbawa yung church, I think yung church dapat mas vocal about this. Hindi lang siguro vocal, pero marami namang organisasyon na church-based na pinapakita lang kung ano yung tunay na nangyayari. Kasi hindi natin alam, wala bang outrage dahil hindi alam kung ano yung tunay na nangyayari? O wala bang outrage dahil sumasang-ayon tayo sa ginagawa? O wala bang outrage kasi nasasanay na tayo?
Or all of the above?
All of the above. Diba? Parang we were featured sa New York Times kahapon. Parang bakit merong outrage sa labas, pero dito sa atin, not enough voices are expressing that outrage. Yun yung nakakatakot kasi we didn't have had this so many deaths in so short a span of time. In just 5 months, we have had over 5,000 deaths already.
So marami pa kaysa sa entire of
totoo,
martial
totoo.
law. Yeah.
Kung yung mga deaths na to are being made to minimize crime, di ba parang how ironic na kabaliktaran yung nangyayari. So, it's something na hindi lang siguro ako, hindi lang kung sinong kumukontra dito, pero parang how do you parang encourage people to voice out their outrage. Kasi pag nakakausap mo naman in circles, nagsasabing grabe na ngayon, nakakatakot na ngayon, pero walang ganong strong na boses.
Wala bang attempt on your part to reach out to the President directly on this particular issue?
I issued several statements about this already. And it has been discussed casually during cabinet meetings. Casually. Halimbawa, pag na-mention yung extrajudicial killings, the President would acknowledge that it is something I feel so strongly about. Yung burial ni former President Marcos. Naalala ko when it was being discussed, parang the President even mentioned na parang magagalit ako. And I even told him na nagpapasalamat din ako sa kanya kasi even if I was very vocal about some of his policies, he has not taken it against me in the past.
On women's rights, you've tolerated a lot of the side comments and the jokes, and some of your some have voiced out the observation also that medyo delayed yung reaction nyo, and maybe you shouldn't be too nice or be smiling too much in the presence of mga ganong jokes from the president. But what did you feel about
yung sa akin,
all these?
I have endured a lot of those behind closed doors. Yung sa akin, it is always a struggle between yun din, expressing my outrage and keeping quiet about it. And in so many instances, I decided to keep quiet about it. Only because yung naisip ko noon, it might affect our working relationship. And napamahal na talaga kasi sa akin yung trabaho ko sa housing. Parati ko lang iniisip when those innuendos would come, hindi ako mapipikon. I will just focus on the job at hand. Hindi ako dumadagdag or anything, pero hindi ako umiimik. Yung sa akin, at one point, I decided to just keep quiet about it. Even if I was enduring those things. Pero when those remarks were made public, parang I cannot just sit down and not say anything. Kasi tingin ko, hindi na lang ako yun eh. Parang when he said those things, it wasn't just meant to insult me, but it was meant to insult every other Filipina. Kaya I had to issue a public statement. I would have done it much earlier. Pero yung sa akin, it was a matter of, ipapalit ko ba yung trabaho ko dito? Kaya ko namang tiisin. Pero yun, I think when he said those remarks in public, that was when the line was crossed.
Okay, recently also, was it yesterday? The president gave assurances that you will finish your term as vice president. Do you believe him?
Ako when, I was in another media forum when I heard of that news, I think yung reaction ko lang, salamat. And I hope that assurance would be until the end of the 6 years. Kasi you cannot also help but be worried about things that are being spread elsewhere na talagang may ginagawang pailalim. Yung kampo ni Bongbong Marcos, I'm not saying that it is from the president's camp, but the camp of Bongbong Marcos. Pero when the president would acknowledge him in public as the new VP, so what do you make of that, diba? When he travels on an official trip with him, how do you interpret it? So pag may mga ganitong usapan na may ginagawang kalokohan with the case, parating I think he cannot also fault me in entertaining thoughts that baka kabahagi doon. But when he made that reassurance yesterday, so yun nga, my reaction was maraming salamat. Pero yun, sana hindi lang yun sa Bicol sabihin, yung reassurance na yun. Sana sa buong bansa, and sana until the last day of our term. Para naman makatrabaho kaming husto na walang ganung pangamba.
Has there been any communication since your resignation with him or with Secretary Evasco?
None.
No direct?
My office was trying to get in touch with Secretary Evasco last Tuesday. Kasi my request sana is, I was in Compostela Valley Tuesday and Surigao Wednesday. I was arriving from Surigao Wednesday afternoon. I wanted na sana to hand over to the Cabinet Secretary my terminal report in HUD-C. So my office was trying to ask from his office if we can meet at the HUD-C office to give me time to turn over the terminal report. Saka ibibilin din siguro, ako may mga gusto kasi ako ipakiusap na sana yung mga nasimulan ituloy. Kasi as I have said, we have already made a lot of breakthroughs, especially as far as policy is concerned. Yung direction regarding housing, I think that marami din kaming na-turn around na mga mali in the past. We are already in the process of trying to craft a comprehensive urban development plan for Metro Manila. In fact, we have met with the mayors already. Marami na kaming ginagawa. Yung mga problematic sites from before, we're trying to fill in the gaps. Halimbawa yung mga walang tubig, we're already in touch with LUWA, with Maynilad, with Manila Waters, para lang ayusin ito lahat. So gusto ko sana personal yung pag-handover ko ng terminal report. So that personal din yung pakiusap na sana lang mapagpatuloy. Pero parang we weren't able to get an appointment with him. So sinabi ko na lang, let's just make sure that yung lahat na observations natin, saka yung mga issues na, especially the most urgent and the most pressing of the issues, maparating kay KABSEC.
Your office listed some of the achievements of HUD-C under your short term. Sabi nyo, you had 17,000 homes built for Yolanda victims, and you had 46,000 families who received socialized and low-cost housing. Ano yung in danger? Or more ba?
Hindi na. Yung Yolanda, yung 17,000, I think yun yung magbe-benefit dun sa pag-ayos ng choke points. Kasi there are so many, only 32,000 houses have been built out of the 205,000 that are needed. Pero yung sinasabi namin na 17,000, kung mapirmahan lang yung joint memorandum circular that we are proposing,
na hindi pa rin napipirmahan.
Hindi pa din napipirmahan to unlock yung mga choke points that we have. And a concrete example of that is that right now the policy of government is that we can only start with a housing project once the area that will be occupied has its own title. So yung proposal sana namin na joint memorandum circular is to accept other rights-based tenurial instruments like tax declarations, etc. Pag napirmahan yon, may 17,000 kaagad na ma-unlock. Kasi yun yung nakabinbin dahil doon sa requirement na yon. Tingin namin kung masundan lang yung policies na inumpisahan namin, parang bibilis siyang grabe. Kasi yung right now, it takes about 2 to 3 years before a housing project comes into fruition.
That's long.
Because of the processes. Yeah. So what we have done in the 5 months is to try to unlock the nuts. As far as processes are concerned, we entered into a memorandum of agreement already with BIR. Kasi one of the things that is stalling all these processes is BIR. It takes BIR a long time to issue exemptions to taxes. Yun, na-unlock na namin yun. We're also in the process of, we have met with COA, NHA, Land Registration Authority already, as far as also unlocking the choke points from their perspective.
So it's more like the bureaucratic
Yung
obstacles.
Yung nakakatagal is government-to-government procedure, which is really sad. Kasi halimbawa yung Yolanda, nasa bureaucratic red tape yung dahilan kung bakit siya natatagalan. Gaya ng sabi ko, 205,000 houses are needed. Only 32,000 has been built. And it's not because of lack of funds, because the funds are there already. It is because of red tape. So, yung sa amin lang, ma-unlock lang sana yun. Okay na. Halimbawa, one of the things also in trying to solve the Metro Manila housing situation is we get an inventory of all government properties in Metro Manila that may be used for housing. We have that already. In fact, we met with the Metro Manila mayors already and asked for point persons from each one of them so that we can plan together. Yung sinasabi namin, hindi pwedeng, parang in the past kasi, ano lang kung okay yung LGU, may available na lupa, nakakagawa. Yung ibang LGU walang available na lupa, hindi. We have a backlog of 5.6 million houses, but we're only producing an average of 200,000 houses a month. And it's because the environment for that is not there. We're not encouraging developers to go into socialized housing because the markup is too low, and we're giving them a very hard time in processing all the documents. So yun yung sana yung mga ginagawa namin na maumpisahan lang sana siya.
Kung hindi kayo nag-resign, if you had stayed on as HUD-C chair, kailan mararamdaman ng mga nasa laylayan ang impact?
Ako as early as 2017.
So in
As
a
early as
year's time
yes.
dapat?
In a year's time, dapat gumagana na yon. Hindi ko masisiguro kung nandun na kaagad yung mga bahay. But during my term, we have approved sa ano pa lang to, SHFC, yung Socialized Housing Fund, Socialized Housing Fund Corporation. We approved for the building of 46,000 houses. So that should be available already by 2017. Pero yung sa akin, halimbawa, I already gave an instruction that all housing projects here on should be based on a people's plan. So yung involvement pa lang ng tao sa pagplano, mararamdaman na nila kasi yung sabi ko, we won't pursue any housing project if the people are not involved every step of the way. Kasi we've had so many unsuccessful housing projects with the houses there and no occupants. Nangyayari yun kasi the government has spent so much for it already, but it happens because people are not involved. So I was telling them, let's start already. We've been going around already, giving capability building trainings for LGUs in the formulation of local shelter plans. We're making sure that all LGUs would have a local housing board already. It's been a requirement from way back, but it's never been complied with kasi hindi nagbibigay ng environment for LGUs to comply. So nandun na kami sa stage na inayos na yung policies, pag naumpisahan, sabay-sabay na yun lahat. So, pag masundan lang yun, if the CABSEC will just have a follow-through, I think by the third or fourth quarter of 2017, ramdam na yun.
Okay. Has he been avoiding you think?
I don't really know. Sana hindi naman. Because the cabinet secretary is head of so many other agencies. Parang may bago ulit siyang assignment ngayon aside from HUD-C. I forgot the name of the office, but he also has supervisory powers over 12 other agencies. Yun yung takot ko eh. Yun yung takot ko na hindi makaka-focus on housing. Ako nga, parang I was devoting my time more on HUD-C other than OVP eh. During the past 5 months. Kasi sobrang dami talagang gagawin. We have been working closely with Senator JV in the Senate and Congressman Albi Benitez in the House. Both are chairpersons of the Committee on Housing. Parang yung sa akin, sabay-sabay natin itong pagplanuhan para isa lang na direksyon. Kaya sayang.
Si Secretary Evasco is also behind Kilusang Pagbabago.
Yes.
Which is supposed to address also needs on the ground. What's your take on this? Isn't this an unnecessary added level of bureaucracy when government can do that, barangays can do that, LGUs can do these things?
Ako, I'm not really sure. I'm not very familiar with Kilusang Pagbabago. What I know is what I read from news articles. Yung sa akin lang, I think the social infrastructure is there already. If you ask me, the social infrastructure is there already. What we just need is to strengthen this social infrastructure and convert them into institutions. Yung sinasabi mo na yung LGUs, tingin ko, kaya may executive order, may draft executive order kami which we were asking the President to sign. Parang we would want the ILG to be part of the HUD-C Council already. Kasi we think that the LGU would be a very strong partner as far as housing is concerned. Tingin ko with the present policies that we have, not only with housing but with the other social services, hindi na din naman kailangan ng ganon na infrastructure. But I'm not really sure what the purpose of organizing it what the purpose is in organizing Kilusang Pagbabago.
What do you think should be the looking forward, looking ahead to 2017? What are the prospects? Kasi if you talk to a lot of people, merong martial law, merong curtailment of freedoms and human rights. It's not very bright, the picture that they paint. Do you share the same sentiment?
Ako kasi I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic sana na optimistic and in one sense and parang anxious also in another sense. Yung sa akin optimistic in the sense na I think we have done great strides already in the last few years. Na kung i-strengthen ng gobyernong ito papunta sa economic development, asikasuhin yung social infrastructure from the ground, tingin ko, parang nakakasana. Pero I don't think that the upheavals that we have been experiencing during the past months, during the past days, extrajudicial killings, yung threat of, yung threat against the democratic processes, yun nga, kwento ng martial law, naging very speculative na yung businesses. I don't think it's helping us at all eh. Kaya yung sa akin, importante sana yung stability ng institutions. I think it's very important that people should have parang confidence in the institutions that we have. Kasi once that confidence is eroded, parang ang hirap ibalik. Halimbawa ngayon, nalulungkot ako na yung mga nangyayari sa House of Representatives, nangyayari sa Senado, baka ma-erode yung integrity ng mga institusyon natin. Na yung mga tao, hindi na siya maniniwala na parang these are still independent bodies. Halimbawa yung judiciary, importante na maasikaso natin na yung pagtingin sa kanya ng tao, siya yung aasahan. Parang last bastion na aasahan. Tingin ko, yun sana yung mahalaga. And all these talks circulating are not helping us towards that end. And I think government has to do something about it. Parang well, all those rumors, ipakita na walang basehan kung bakit may ganun na pangamba. Pero when we receive mixed signals kasi from different people in government, parang we get all the more confused and we get more anxious na parang 'di ba when you go to the supermarket, people on the line would ask you, saan ba tayo patutungo? Saan ba tayo papunta? Parang we don't need that kind of 'di ba? Parang we don't need that kind of
Anxiety.
Anxiety, saka yung parang yung
Uncertainty.
uncertainty, yung very unstable yung pagtingin natin sa what will the future bring us.
Last question. What role do you see for yourself playing? Kung ganon, you have an idea of what should be and what should not be. Given the lines, I know you're navigating very
Yes.
carefully. But what role do you see for yourself vis-a-vis the opposition, vis-a-vis this government?
Ako ngayon, one of the things that my party mates asked when I told them of my decision was, ano na mangyayari sa amin? Kasi most of the members of our party belong to the majority coalition. So ako naman, sabi ko, syempre, they would have to decide for themselves. But if they ask me, it would still be better for us to be supportive of this administration in matters where parang we agree on, in issues we agree on. But to make sure also that we be very passionate about our dissent on the issues that we don't agree on. Tingin ko kasi, parang this administration has only been here for less than 6 months.
It feels
Diba?
longer.
Parang ang tagal na nga
Yes.
sa dami na nangyayari.
Marami na rin nagawa.
Pero yun yung sa akin na tingin ko kasi parang lahat naghihinimbang over the last 5 months na hindi tayo, kahit nag-agree tayo, hindi tayo masyadong supportive, pero kahit tayo nagdi-disagree, parang hindi din tayo very vocal about it. And I think it has to change. If you want this administration to transform for the better. Siguro sinasabi natin marami pang learning curve, etc. Pero this can't last longer than Di ba? Than what we have experienced over the last 5 months. Parang yung tanong sa sarili natin, can we still afford parang this kind of situation in the coming months? Parang I don't think so. Kasi maapektuhan na yung ekonomiya natin, maapektuhan na yung parang paniniwala ng tao sa mga institusyon. So, yung sa akin naman, I still hope that the President would be very much willing to listen. Pero let's also make sure that we make our voices heard. Parang tama na, set aside na muna yung politika. Tapos na yung eleksyon, pero magkaisa tayo. Kung kontra tayo sa ganito, magkaisa tayo. And I think that's the role I want to play in the next at least in the near future, na maging unifying factor. Parang I was taken aback by this resignation myself. So it's not something that I have strategized. I didn't see it coming until Saturday or Sunday. So siguro in the coming days, parang everything will be clearer for all of us. Kung saan tayo patutungo. I know what I want, pero yung how to do it, I think will unfold in the next few days.
Okay.